The trust office smelled like burnt coffee, warm printer paper, and panic. Across the conference table, my father stared at the report like it had personally betrayed him. My mother held a legal pad with both hands. My sister Serena had no makeup on for the first time I could remember. Then the fiduciary manager looked at me and asked, "Did you warn them before the disbursements stopped?" I said yes. 7 times. My name is Claire Whitman, and until my family's accounts stopped working, they thought my job was just paperwork. That was the word they used. Paperwork. They said it the way people say dust. Annoying. Small. Something someone else should handle quietly. My father, Richard Whitman, was a real estate developer in a town where people judged success by waterfront views and restaurant tables saved without reservations. My mother, Vivian, served on charity boards, garden committees, museum councils, and anything else that came with a printed invitation. My younger sister, Serena, worked in luxury public relations. She dressed celebrities for brand events, posted from hotels with marble bathrooms, and somehow made drinking water in an airport lounge look like a career milestone. She was the golden child. Not because she was kinder. Not because she worked harder. Because her success photographed well. My work did not. I was a records and compliance specialist. I helped small businesses, local nonprofits, and family offices keep their contracts, filings, insurance certificates, tax records, and reporting obligations in order. I knew how to read the small print that made other people's eyes glaze over. I knew which forms triggered penalties if they were late. I knew which address needed to match which account. I knew the difference between a casual reminder and a deadline that could freeze money by Monday. To my family, that made me boring. Useful sometimes, but boring. At family dinners, Serena was asked about Milan, Paris, Los Angeles, and whichever designer had sent flowers that week. I was asked if I was still doing filing. When Serena worked late, she was ambitious. When I worked late, I needed better hobbies. When Serena traveled, she was building a brand. When I drove across town to fix a nonprofit's broken payroll records, I was doing errands. There are families where one child stands under the light, and the other stands beside the fuse box. The one under the light gets applause. The one by the fuse box only gets noticed when the room goes dark. I did not hate Serena for being loved loudly. That would have been easier. I hated how my family used that love as a measuring stick. Serena's shine became proof that I was dull. Her invitations became proof that my work was small. Her photographs became proof that my quiet life was not enough. But 3 years before everything collapsed, my grandfather saw what they refused to see. His name was Harold Whitman. He built the family's real wealth long before my father learned how to borrow against it. He owned a lake house, several investment accounts, and a family trust that helped cover certain property costs, insurance premiums, education grants, and scheduled family distributions. The trust was not simple. It had rules, residency forms, occupancy certifications, insurance documentation, property tax escrows, annual beneficiary verification, updated banking instructions. A lot of little doors that had to stay unlocked in the right order. When Grandpa Harold's health began to fail, he called me to the lake house. Not my father. Not my mother. Not Serena. Me. He sat at the kitchen table with a stack of folders and a mug of tea he barely touched. "Claire," he said, "your father likes results. Your mother likes appearances. Serena likes movement. You are the only one who likes accuracy." I laughed because I thought he was teasing. He was not. He slid the first folder toward me. If this family is going to keep what I built, someone has to read what everyone else signs. That sentence changed my life. For the next 3 years, I became the quiet point of contact. I did not control the trust. I was not the trustee. I did not own the lake house. But I handled the administrative packet for my family's side. I tracked deadlines. I organized forms. I reminded everyone what needed signatures. I corrected addresses. I uploaded insurance documents. I forwarded occupancy forms. I kept copies because people in my family had a talent for losing papers and blaming the paper. Nobody thanked me. That was fine at first. Some work is not done for applause. But there is a difference between not being thanked and being mocked by the people benefiting from the work. The breaking point came at my father's 60th birthday party. He held it at the lake house. Of course he did. The same house Grandpa had protected with boring paperwork. The lawn was tinted. The caterers wore black. There were white flowers on every table and champagne glasses lined up like soldiers. My mother moved through the guests as if she were hosting a charity gala instead of a birthday. Serena arrived late in a silver dress and was immediately surrounded by people asking about her clients. I arrived with a folder in my bag, not because I wanted to work at a party, because the annual trust verification packet was due in 8 days, and my father had still not signed the residency affidavit. My mother had not updated the insurance contact. Serena had not returned her authorized occupant form. I had already sent reminders, 3 emails, 2 texts, 1 shared folder link. No response. At dinner, my father stood to make a toast. He thanked his friends, his partners, his wife, and Serena. Then he turned toward me with that smile he used when he wanted a joke to sound harmless. "I have 2 daughters," he said. "One is making a name for herself in the international luxury world." Everyone looked at Serena. She tilted her head and smiled. "And the other," my father continued, "is still buried in paperwork like she is running a basement archive." The room laughed. Not everyone, but enough. My mother smiled into her glass. Serena added, "Careful, Dad. She may invoice you for emotional filing." More laughter. I set my glass down slowly. There are moments when anger arrives hot. This was not hot. It was cold, clean, precise, like a line being drawn with a ruler. I had spent years keeping their comfortable life from tripping over its own loose wires, and they had turned the wire into a punchline. I stood. My mother's eyes flicked toward me. "Claire, do not be sensitive." That was another family word. Sensitive. It meant, please absorb the insult quietly so nobody has to admit it was cruel. Picked up my purse. My father called after me, still smiling for the guests. "Come on." It was a joke. I looked at him. No. It was a receipt. He frowned. He did not understand. He would. I drove home to my apartment while the party lights disappeared behind me in the rearview mirror. My place was small. 3rd floor. No elevator. A kitchen table that doubled as my desk. I opened my laptop and stared at the unanswered reminder chain. Annual trust verification packet incomplete. Deadline Friday. Missing residency affidavit. Missing authorized occupant certification. Missing insurance contact update. Missing payment instruction reauthorization. If the packet lapsed, routine disbursements would suspend pending review. That meant mortgage support for the lake house would pause. Insurance escrow transfers would pause. Property tax disbursements would pause. Scheduled family distributions tied to verified occupancy would pause. Not forever. Not illegally. But long enough to create chaos. In the past, I would have called. Then texted. Then driven over. Then printed the forms. Then stood in the doorway while my father complained and signed. Then followed my mother around with a pen. Then reminded Serena 3 more times until she sent a blurry photo of a signature from an airport lounge. That was how I had kept the machine running. Not by controlling it. By chasing everyone before their neglect became visible. That night I wrote an email. The first draft was not professional. It involved several words I had never used in a compliance notice. I deleted it. Then I wrote the version the record needed. Annual trust compliance packet remains incomplete. Required forms are attached again for convenience. If all signed documents are not returned by Friday at 5 in the afternoon, routine disbursements may suspend automatically pending fiduciary review. Please confirm receipt. I attached everything. Again. I sent it to my father, my mother, and Serena. Then I copied the trust office general inbox. Not to threaten. To document. Because paperwork is not small when it becomes the only witness that tells the truth. Over the next week, I watched them ignore it. My father opened the email Tuesday morning. No reply. My mother opened it Tuesday afternoon, then forwarded it to herself. No reply. Serena opened it Wednesday at midnight. The next morning, she posted from a fashion event with the caption, "Building an Empire." I sent one final reminder Thursday. No emotion. No lecture. Just the deadline. The trust office sent its own final notice Thursday afternoon. No response. Friday came. At 4:30, my mother texted me a photo of flowers from the party and wrote, "Still think you overreacted, but they were beautiful." I did not answer. At 5 in the afternoon, the deadline passed. At 5:04, the system updated. Routine disbursements suspended pending review. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just a status change in a portal nobody respected until it stopped feeding them. People think revenge has to be loud. Sometimes it is just refusing to run down the hallway with a pen. Monday morning, the panic began. At 7:12, my mother texted. My card was declined at the club cafe. Is the trust account down? At 7:26, Serena texted in all capital letters. My mortgage payment is showing late. What did you do? At 8:03, my father called. Then called again. Then left a voicemail. Claire, call me immediately. The truck payment did not clear, and the bank is asking questions. If this is some tantrum because of the party, it ends now. I listened to the voicemail twice. Not because I enjoyed it, because I needed to hear the assumption. What did you do? Not what did we miss? Not did we ignore something important? What did you do? That was my family in one sentence. They believed comfort was normal and consequences were sabotage. I went to work. I answered client emails. I reviewed a nonprofit lease renewal. I corrected a vendor tax form. By noon, my mother had called from an unknown number. I answered because I was between meetings. Her voice was tight. Claire, your father is furious. That is not new. This is serious. It was serious when I sent the packet. You could have warned us. I did. 7 times. She paused. Well, we did not understand the urgency. No, I said. You did not respect it. She went quiet. For 3 days, the situation worsened. The Lake House mortgage support showed overdue. The property insurer requested updated occupancy verification. A vehicle lender flagged my father's account. Serena's loan underwriter asked why a trust-backed payment had failed. My mother sold a diamond bracelet she once called sentimental. My father was seen arguing on his phone outside a diner. Serena stopped posting for almost a week. That was how I knew things were bad. A family trust is not a family wallet. It has terms, trustee obligations, beneficiary rules, reporting requirements, disbursement conditions. A trust does not care that you are embarrassed. It does not care that your guests think the lake house belongs to you outright. It does not care that you are used to money arriving while someone else keeps the forms current. If the conditions are not met, the system does what the documents say. That is not cruelty. That is structure. And structure is only invisible to people who have never had to hold it up. On Thursday night, Serena came to my apartment. No driver. No heels. No camera-ready outfit. Just jeans, a sweater, and a face that looked younger without makeup. I almost did not let her in. Then I did. She stood in my kitchen, looking at the stacks of labeled folders on my table. I was awful to you, she said. I waited. Not just at Dad's party, she added. For years. That was better. Specific was better. I liked being the successful one, she said. And I think part of me needed you to be the boring one, the family failure. It made everything easier. I leaned against the counter. Easier for who? For me. Her voice cracked. I am sorry. I believed she meant it. I also knew meaning it was not enough. What do you want, Serena? The trustee meeting is tomorrow. I want you to come. I am already required to attend as administrative contact. She nodded. I know. But Dad thinks you caused this. Mom thinks you can just fix it. I need someone in that room who understands what actually happened. You mean me? Yes. I will tell the truth. I know. No softening it. She swallowed. Okay. The meeting was held in a beige conference room on the second floor of the trust office. No lake view. No chandeliers. No champagne. Just burnt coffee, warm printer paper, and a table covered in documents. The fiduciary manager was a woman named Harper Lane. Not Miss Harper. Not Mrs. Harper. Just Harper Lane because she had the kind of presence that made titles feel unnecessary. She opened the meeting by listing the deficiencies. Ignored annual verification notice. Missing residency affidavit. Missing authorized occupant certification. expired insurance contact information, unreturned reauthorization of payment instructions, conflicting address records, delayed response to fiduciary inquiry. Each item landed on the table like a small stone. My father looked smaller with every one. My mother clutched her legal pad. Serena kept her eyes on the report. Then Harper turned to me. "Miss Whitman, did you issue reminder communications before the suspension?" "Yes," I said. Multiple written reminders with forms attached and deadlines stated. "Were those reminders delivered?" "Yes." "Do you have copies?" "Yes." "Did you personally suspend any account?" "No." "Did you have authority to suspend routine trust disbursements?" "No." "What caused the suspension?" "Automatic system action after non-compliance with annual verification requirements." My father shifted in his chair. For 1 second, I saw him prepare to interrupt. Then he looked at the copies of my emails in Harper's binder. Facts have a way of changing the volume in a room. The trust attorney explained the next steps. The family would not lose the lake house immediately, but unrestricted use would be paused until the trust completed review. All occupancy claims needed correction. Insurance had to be updated. Certain payments would remain delayed. Fees would apply. Future disbursements would require stricter verification. No one was being punished beyond the terms. They were simply meeting the system without me standing between them and it. After the meeting, my father asked to speak with me in the parking lot. I almost said no. Then I followed him outside. He stood beside his truck, the luxury one with payments that had not cleared. For once, he did not look like a developer. He looked like a man who had discovered the foundation under his house had been cracking for years. He started with a sigh, then an explanation. He said he had been under pressure. He said the party got out of hand. He said he thought I knew he was joking. I let him talk. People often use extra words to avoid the small ones that matter. When he ran out, I said, "Do you know what hurt the most?" He looked at me. "It was not the joke," I said. "It was not even the laughter. It was that you truly believed I was worthless until my work stopped making your life comfortable." His face changed. I continued, "You were proud of Serena in a way everyone could see. And you treated me like my work only mattered when something went wrong." He looked down at the pavement. A car passed on the street behind us. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he said, "I was wrong. Simple. Late. Not enough to fix everything, but real enough to hear." My mother apologized later in her own way. At first, she said she had not understood the details. I told her she did not need to understand every detail to respect a deadline. That stopped her. Then she said, "I confused depending on you with being above what you did." That sentence surprised me. It was almost honest enough to hurt. Serena did better. She started correcting people. At a lunch 2 weeks later, an aunt said, "Claire is so good with boring forms." Serena said, "Claire is the reason half this family still has access to the lake house." I did not smile, but I did not stop her either. I agreed to help them complete the review. On terms. No late-night emergency calls unless something was truly urgent. No unsigned forms handed to me at parties. No blaming me for consequences created by ignored notices. Every beneficiary had to attend the follow-up call. Every document had to be read by the person signing it. I would explain. I would not babysit. I would support. I would not absorb. That was the difference. My father sold the luxury truck before the lender could take it. My mother started tracking her own accounts. Serena lost 2 high-profile clients because her financial review delayed a campaign launch, but she did not lose her career. The lake house survived. Barely. But it no longer sat in family stories as proof of my father's greatness. It became what it had always been. A property tied to rules, history, obligations, and the work of people they had never toasted. Things did not become perfect. Families do not change like lights switching on. They change like old doors opening. Slowly. With noise. Sometimes getting stuck. But something did shift. At the next family dinner, my father asked what I was working on. Not as a courtesy. He waited for the answer. I told him about a nonprofit whose grant funding depended on clean records. He nodded and said, "That sounds important." I said, "It is." And for once nobody laughed. I did not take revenge by causing chaos. I did not freeze accounts. I did not call banks. I did not destroy anyone's life. I stepped back. That was all. I stopped running ahead of consequences with a broom and a roll of tape. I stopped turning their neglect into my emergency. I stopped letting them treat my competence like a household appliance that should hum quietly in the corner. And when I stepped back, reality did what reality does. It showed the missing signatures, the ignored notices, the unpaid assumptions, the cost of every easy joke. That is the thing about quiet work. People think it is small because it does not sparkle. But quiet work holds doors open. Quiet work keeps lights on. Quiet work makes sure the check clears, the insurance stays valid, the property remains protected, and the family name does not trip over its own arrogance. So if someone in your life is always checking the details, saving the copies, asking the annoying questions, and reminding everyone before the deadline, do not mock them. Thank them. Because sometimes the person buried in paperwork is not buried at all. They are holding the floor beneath your feet. Disclaimer. This video is created for the sole purpose of entertainment. All situations, characters, and stories in this video are fictional and are built entirely using artificial intelligence technology. We hope you have a relaxing time.